Did you know that racism, as we know it today, didn't exist 600 years ago? That's right. The idea that people could be ranked and judged based on their skin color was actually invented. And the reason why might shock you more than you think. What if I told you that racism wasn't born from hate, but from greed? What if the very concept of race was created not by angry people, but by smart businessmen who needed to solve a problem? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how a simple business decision to the world forever and still affects every single one of us today. Before we dive deep into this story, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why racism exists? Why do people judge others based on something as simple as skin color? The answer isn't what most people think. It's not about fear of the unknown. It's not about natural human behavior. The truth is much darker and more calculated than that. Let's go back in time, way back. To understand how racism started, we need to travel to the 1400s and 1500s. Picture this. European countries are getting rich from trade. They're buying spices from Asia, gold from Africa, and they just discovered something huge, the Americas. A whole new world full of land, resources, and opportunities to make money. But here's the problem they faced. To make money in these new lands, they needed workers, lots and lots of workers. The land was there, the resources were there, but who was going to do the hard work of farming, mining, and building? This is where our story really begins. Now, you might think, okay, so they needed workers. What's wrong with that? Well, here's what happened next that changed everything. The Europeans tried using native people from the Americas as workers, but there was a big problem. Many native people died from diseases that Europeans brought with them. Others fought back against being forced to work, and some simply ran away because they knew the land better than anyone else. So what did the Europeans do? They looked across the ocean to Africa. But here's where it gets really interesting. Slavery already existed in many parts of the world back then. People had been enslaving others for thousands of years. But there was something different about the slavery that was about to begin. Something that had never happened before in human history. Are you ready for the shocking part? Here it is. Before the 1400s, people enslaved others because of war, debt, or religion. But they didn't enslave people because of their skin color or race. That idea didn't exist yet. A person could be enslaved, but their children might be free. Slaves could sometimes buy their freedom or earn it. And most importantly, being enslaved didn't mean you were considered less human. But then something terrible happened. European businessmen and traders realized they had a problem. How could they justify enslaving millions of people just to make money? How could they make it seem okay to treat human beings like property? The answer they came up with was pure evil genius. They invented the concept of race. Think about this for a moment. These people sat down and decided that humans could be divided into different groups based on their skin color. And then, and this is the most evil part, they decided that some races were naturally better than others. They said white people were naturally smarter, more civilized, and more deserving of freedom. They said black people were naturally suited for hard work and slavery. But wait, there's more. They didn't just make this up and hope people would believe it. They created an entire system to make it seem scientific and true. They brought in doctors, scientists, and religious leaders to support their ideas. They wrote books about it. They created laws about it. They built their entire society around this lie. Can you imagine the level of planning that went into this? These weren't random acts of hatred. This was a carefully planned system designed to make money while making people feel good about doing terrible things to other human beings. Here's something that might surprise you even more. Many of the European colonists initially didn't want to enslave people based on race. Some of them felt uncomfortable about it. Some thought it was wrong. But the people making money from slavery needed everyone to accept it. So they spent years convincing regular people that this was natural and right. They told white workers, "You may be poor, but at least you're not black." They gave poor white people small privileges that black people didn't have. They created laws that treated white and black people differently, even if they were both poor. Slowly but surely, they got regular white people to support a system that was really only making the rich people richer. But here's the part that will really make your blood boil. The people who created these racist ideas knew they were lies. They knew that skin color had nothing to do with intelligence or character. They had worked with and traded with African kingdoms that were more advanced than many European societies. They knew that African people had created amazing art, science, and technology. Let me tell you about something that happened that shows just how calculated this was. In the early days of American colonies, white and black workers often worked together. They lived together, married each other, and fought together against unfair treatment by the rich landowners. The rich people saw this and got scared. What if all the workers, white and black, joined together against them? So they created laws to divide them. They gave white workers small benefits that black workers didn't get. They made it illegal for white and black people to marry. They created separate punishments for the same crimes based on skin color. They literally created racism through laws and policies designed to keep working people from uniting against the wealthy. And it worked. White workers started to see black workers as different and inferior instead of seeing rich landowners as their real enemies. The people in power had successfully used racism to protect their wealth and control. But the story gets even worse. As this system grew, it spread to other parts of the world. European countries used the same racist ideas to justify taking over Africa, Asia, and other parts of the Americas. They said they were bringing civilization to backward people. They claimed they were helping these societies by controlling them. This is how racism became global. It wasn't just about slavery in America anymore. It became the excuse for colonialism everywhere. Millions of people around the world suffered and died because of ideas that were created by a small group of people who wanted to get rich. Now here's something that might shock you. Even after slavery ended, the people in power didn't give up on racism. Why? Because it was still useful to them. They still needed ways to divide working people so they wouldn't unite against unfair treatment. They still wanted cheap labor. They still wanted to control resources in other countries. So racism evolved. It changed its shape, but it never went away. It became segregation. It became discrimination in jobs and housing. It became stereotypes in movies and books. It became the reason why some neighborhoods get better schools and services than others. Think about this. Every single racist idea we hear today can be traced back to those original lies created to justify slavery and colonialism. Every stereotype, every prejudice, every form of discrimination, they all come from a system that was designed to make money for a small group of people. But here's what gives me hope, and what should give you hope too. If racism was created by people, it can be destroyed by people. It's not natural. It's not inevitable. It's not part of human nature. It's a system that was built, and systems can be torn down. The first step is understanding the truth about how it started. When we know that racism was created for money and power, we can see through the lies that still exist today. We can recognize when people are trying to divide us for their own benefit. We can work together across racial lines to create a fairer world for everyone. So the next time someone tries to tell you that racism is natural, or that people have always been this way, you can tell them the truth. People haven't always been this way. Racism is only a few hundred years old, and it was created by people who wanted to get rich by hurting others. The question now is, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to work together to tear down a system that was never meant to serve any of us except the people at the very top? I want to hear from you in the comments. What part of this story shocked you the most? Did you know that racism was actually invented? How do you think we can work together to overcome the divisions that were created centuries ago? If this video opened your eyes to something new, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. And if you want to learn more about how these historical systems still affect us today, check out our video on lies about the pyramid that won't go away. Align's put a link right here. Don't forget to subscribe to the History Teller for more stories that reveal the truth behind the world we live in today. Because when we understand our real history, we can create a better future for everyone. Remember, the people who created racism were smart, organized, and determined. If we want to overcome what they built, we need to be smart, organized, and determined too. But unlike them, we have something they didn't have, the truth on our side. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore how these same systems of control evolved and adapted over the centuries. You won't want to miss it.